jail, and now probably 441 North and South dominated by a phalanx of police cars in front of the public building. We depend on being a friendly and welcoming place to get people to stop and shop in Watkinsville. And that's my representation tonight. There's already an existing perception of no parking. There are some places by the Christian church, but that's not very obviously public parking. There are 3 places in front of our shop and 3 places across the street, but you're really lucky if you get a place there. If we already have scarce parking that's going to be diminished by the parking that some public is used in front of the courthouse, then the perception of our town as welcoming and friendly goes further down the tubes. The reality is that we know there's parking behind the courthouse, that it takes a really determined and fit person to get down there, park, and walk up the hill to the shops and actually do some shopping. It's not an easy task. To the casual visitor, unless there's a hosted event or they've been on a mission to go to the comic book store, to go to the flower shop or some other designated area, there's probably not going to be the motivation to find a place, get parked, and then do that walking. Under this proposal, visitors to town will also lose the only 2 handicap spaces that are on Main Street. There are 2 behind the election office, but I think those 2 are the only ones that are actually on level access. Now there are 2 down at the lower level of the courthouse, but to be realistic about it, anybody that really needs a handicap space probably doesn't have the physical capability of being able to park there and walk to Main Street and still have the energy left to shop. Public funds were used to pay for streetscape, which is to provide both beauty in the heart of town and safety and secure access for visitors. We lost parking places with streetscape. I think the trade-off was worth it. Under this proposal, it appears that courthouse streetscape endeavor will not only cost us the parking we lost by doing streetscape, but the additional parking that's going to be overshadowed by law enforcement vehicles taking up the scarce commodity of parking. Instead of imposing further inroads on already scarce parking, WTTA hopes that there can be some other ways in which security can be strengthened without imposing logistic and financial hardship on local townsfolk and visitors. Some alternatives might be an attractive barrier put in front of the courthouse, something like a low wall made of cement or concrete. This could prevent vehicular access, which I think is really the biggest threat, although Sheriff Berry would probably know more about that than I do. A less costly option might be cement or metal stanchions, or sometimes they're called bollards. They're waist-high barriers, which don't cost as much. They're not as visually imposing, but they also would achieve the same purpose. Either one of these are attractive options, and they would help foster a friendly, approachable appearance for town, as well as leaving those public parking places still accessible. A downtown is only as attractive as its least attractive feature, and the economic health of downtown businesses is only as healthy as its least healthy member. WTTA wants to keep a vibrant and lively appearance to downtown, and if we don't appear that way, we don't have people stopping shopping. And without that, our economic health diminishes. We would like as a group to ask that there be some reflection and possibly reconsidering the option of leaving that courthouse parking in front of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Maridee Williams. I'm the General Manager of Oconee Enterprise.
I live right here in Watkinsville at 1021 Jeremy Drive, and I'm going to talk about parking in a different way. As you can imagine, until recently, I never paid much attention to handicap spots. They're there, okay. And now I appreciate them greatly because they're few and far between. You'd be surprised when you go to Publix, you have to fight for those handicap spots. Taking and putting just sheriff's cars and trucks in front of the courthouse is going to remove those 2 handicap spots. As has been said before, when the city of Watkinsville did their streetscape project 1, they incorporated the courthouse parking into that plan, and they planted the shrubs and they realigned the parking spaces, and they made it convenient to for the handicap to go across the street at Main and 3rd Street on the crosswalk, despite some people jaywalking. And all of this was with an eye toward the Americans with Disabilities Act. Somewhere in that, and I don't remember exactly when, the courthouse built ramps on the front. Another tremendous help for those of us who need help. If those 2 handicap spots are taken out, it's going to cut off our access to the front of the courthouse, as everybody has already said. If it is moved to the side at the bottom of the hill or to the back, the handicap spots, I could either walk up the hill to go shopping, or I can go shopping, but I can't walk up the hill. And that's straight from the horse's mouth. I could not walk up that hill and go shopping for an afternoon. And I'm not the only one. We have an aging population here, and there are a lot of people that come through town that would like to stop, need the handicap spots. Even if those spots are taken up, there's still nice parking there that someone with a little bit of difficulty, but not quite in the handicap category, can get out of there, can park their car and get out and go to the Welcome Center or go to one of the shops along Main Street. So it's not just me with a handicap, it's a lot of people that have trouble moving around. And so I am with the rest of the group in saying, could you find another option to cutting off that parking, still secure the building, but leave that parking intact, including those 2 handicap spots? And thank you for letting me express my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Scott Morris. I am the chair of the Oconee Cultural and Tourism Committee, and I come to you tonight. I am one of those people that actually had the opportunity to sit down with Scott Berry and talk just a little bit about, because our concern more than anything else, of course, is first impression as you come into downtown. We've worked very hard, certainly, to increase tourism in our own backyard here in the Watkinsville area. And I'd hate to see, under any circumstances, the opportunity of someone's first impression or their first chance to come into the downtown area and see that there isn't parking for them to stop by with Peggy and her staff and get the adequate information to tell them about what we're all about and what this community is about is a huge concern of ours. But I will say, and understand, our committee does not, under any circumstances, challenge the need for the added security. I'm just saying that we would love to come up with, or we'd like someone to come up with a viable alternative that still gave ample parking for those travelers that are coming here for the first time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norris.
Good evening. When Streetscape was introduced to Watkinsville, the Georgia Department of Transportation they approved every aspect of this Streetscape project. Parking in front of the courthouse was designed to preclude backing into the state route where a number of accidents had occurred. I remember a judge, and it's been mentioned here already, I remembered a judge and others that were killed or injured in the Atlanta courthouse incident some years ago. The primary failure was a weak link in personnel security, not in physical security. The physical structure required requires well-trained, top-flight personnel at all times. While military security is not necessarily analogous to the civilian sector, there are common requirements in training, organization, and quality of personnel. Nuclear weapons have been routinely transported on U.S. highways from storage sites to be loaded upon nuclear-capable shipping. The ongoing plans and selected security personnel were well-screened and top flight. And again, you're talking about people, people, and people. The good news is that Oconee County has a sheriff and a sheriff's department that of the quality to fully support and do any job that's mentioned. So I have to agree with the statements that have been made. I think there's got to be another option than closing the front of the courthouse to the public and to people that are coming here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I volunteer at the Welcome Center about 3 afternoons a week. It's Tuesday. Who have we seen this week? The last person I saw was a gentleman that came from another county. He was going to 316 to a physician. He was taking his wife. They're coming here. They wanted to see where it was. We have a lot of people that stop by the Welcome Center because they want to know how to get directions. So they needed to park in front of the courthouse. His wife was handicapped. He was an elderly gentleman, and he didn't need to be walking a block or two to get to the Welcome Center to find out where this physician was located. I had a young family today, came in, they got information about the Parks Department. Yesterday, had 2 people that came through from other states. They're connected up with the real estate in our county. One of them is actually looking for farmland. That's 2 days this week. So I realize that Scott has got his duty. We talked about what the approval was by the judge, and then your funding. Those were the 3 concepts that came up there. And then we have people that are representing the downtown part that are saying, please adjust this so we can have parking. It's a difficult decision, but I hope that all of us can work together and not take away from our downtown part. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldman.
Monica Alley, 1081 Lane Creek Circle in Bishop. I want to tell you a personal story and then ask you a question. I am very much in favor of keeping handicapped spaces because I was handicapped. I had very severe arthritis in my knees, and I walked with 2 canes, and I could not go any distance at all. I've had 2 knee replacements, and I'm walking, thankfully, very well at this point. I want to, in the women's restroom, which I imagine is designed by people who are not handicapped, the handicap stall is always at the back, which makes it a longer distance to walk. What is it in the men's restroom? Where is the handicap stall? I haven't been in there.
It's in the back.
It's in the back. There is only one place that I have ever been, and I'm very conscious of handicap areas in the restrooms, that had the handicap stalls in front, and that was in UGA in the Continuing Ed Center, in the women's restroom. I don't know about the men's. So I would say, please, please, retain the handicap spaces, if at all possible, in the front of the courthouse, so that people can walk on level ground. I believe the restrooms are designed by people who are not handicapped. If you are handicapped, you're very, very much aware of such things. So please keep that in mind.